My mother-in-law showed up to my dinner party with 6 people I had never met in my life, and then looked me dead in the eye and said I was being rude for not having enough food. Okay, so, my husband and I had been planning this dinner party for 3 weeks. 8 people, seated at our dining table, real dishes, candles, the whole thing. I'd spent 2 days cooking. Braised short ribs, roasted vegetables, a homemade tart. I had place cards. I want you to understand how intentional this was. My mother-in-law, Diane, was on the guest list. My husband invited her himself. She confirmed, one seat, her. She arrives 20 minutes late, which is already Diane, but fine. And when I open the door, she is not alone. Behind her are 2 of her book club friends, one of their husbands, her neighbor Carol, Carol's adult son, and some woman named Bev who I think she met at a nail salon. 6 extra people. 6, standing on my porch like they're here for a buffet. Diane smiles, big, breezy, and says, I hope you made extra, I brought a few friends. A few, 6 is not a few, 6 is a crowd, 6 is a headcount problem. I kept my voice even. I said, Diane, I only said 8 seats. I don't have food for 6 more people. Calm, totally calm, I even smiled. She waves her hand like I'm being silly. Oh, we can just squeeze in, people share, it's fine. I told her it wasn't fine, actually. I had exact portions, I'd planned specific seating, and I didn't have the table space. I offered to call her a restaurant nearby, genuinely. I said, I can find you somewhere great right now and make a reservation on my phone. She looked at me like I'd just suggested she eat on the curb. A restaurant? These are my guests, they drove all the way here. Your guests to my dinner party that you were invited to, alone. I stayed steady. I said, Diane, I'm really glad you wanted to include your friends tonight, but this isn't a drop-in. I need to ask them to go. And that's when she shifted gears entirely. She leaned in and said, and I'm quoting, my son lives here. I think I have a right to bring whoever I want to his home. Right, okay, so now we're doing that. I told her, as politely as I have ever said anything in my adult life, that her son and I own this home together, and the answer was still no. She could come in. Her 6 friends could not. She crossed her arms and said, I'm not leaving them outside like dogs. My husband had heard the whole thing from the hallway. He came to the door and backed me up immediately, bless him, genuinely, and told his mother the same thing I did. No room, no extra food, the answer is no. And that's when Diane lost it. She went loud, right there on the porch in front of Carol and Bev and the whole little crew. This is unbelievable. You are turning away family. I raised you to be better than this. Your wife has always had a problem with me, and now she's using a dinner party to humiliate me in front of my friends. The people behind her got very quiet. I'm using a dinner party to humiliate her by not having psychically prepared food for 6 people who were never invited. I could have stayed gracious. Part of me wanted to. But I looked at my husband, I looked at Diane, and I said, Diane, you added 6 people to my event without asking. I have 2 days of cooking on that table for 8 specific people. I'm not the one who created this situation, you did. You're welcome inside. They're not, that's the end of it. She sucked in a breath like I'd slapped her. Fine, she said, ice cold. Then none of us will come in. And I said, yeah, I said it, okay, drive safe. Diane turned around, gathered her 6 people, and marched them back down the driveway. The whole group piled into 2 cars. Carol gave me one long look over her shoulder before she got in, not mean, just tired, like she knew. We closed the door. My husband stood there for a second and then said, I'm so sorry. Not to his mom, to me. We went inside. Our 8 actual guests were all standing in the living room having heard absolutely everything. Dead quiet for about 2 seconds. And then one of our friends just started slow clapping. And then someone else laughed, and then honestly, it turned into the best dinner we've ever thrown. The short ribs were perfect. Every seat was full. Nobody was sitting on each other's laps. Diane texted my husband 3 times during dinner. He read them, put his phone face down, and ate his meal. That was 3 months ago. She's still not speaking to me, which, honestly, is its own kind of peace. But here's what I keep coming back to when I said, okay, drive safe and closed that door, was that too far? She did show up with 6 uninvited people and try to guilt me in front of all of them. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stopped being polite. Honestly, though, what would you have done? Comment below.